Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful Friday morning, May 10th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. And we're happy to be here as usual, of course. Today is the opening for Matt Rayner for his show, Friday, May 10th, 3 to 7. Also wanted to say not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty and Francis Ann, of course, the part of the heritage of LTV and huge followers that make it your business to enhance and fortify this concept. I'm waiting for Jody Gambino to sit to join me and maybe have do some talking about music and maybe poetry. And and I thought it'd be really very nice to catch up with some creative individuals here at the station. Many young, talented individuals are taking place here at the station and doing, uh, giving life and adding meaning to the concept that is just wonderful by its own basic, straightforward nature. And as I said, I feel the energy for here today for the opening. I feel um, the how should I say the power behind that kind of basic things that need to take place and be repeated, that eventually, no matter what, they start producing meaning, and that is an in uh, um, an inevitable uh, payback. You kind of paying yourself, but it feels as if you're paying someone else that is kind of independent. But anyway, this feeling, this energy is much appreciated, even though we kind of hoping very much that when we get engaged and invest time and develop a strategy and follow a plan, that it takes some doing, it takes some time, it takes some investment, some goodwill, and some help, and some skills of coordination and working together and in my case it will be then when I see that thing that I want to be involved with or to that I want to show, that I want to share, that is mine, that's and of others. There's a way to do it. There's a way to do it. There's an ABC 1, 2, 3, and even if you really know it well and you already done it more than once, still it needs the same level of attention and patience. Meaning, yeah, it's going to get done. So when it comes to the world of art, it's really all about, that particular poem that I just wrote. And it just came out of nowhere, but it came from a source that's very well uh, self-aware that actually it happens to be in good hands because it feels and sees itself being operated and being engaged in things that are just producing nothing but um, constructive ideas that has been materialized and found themselves fairly effective, not only in the nature of the place that they're taking in this world, but in the nature of the that which they will give birth to, or at least aid for some other source to give birth to. Um, the ongoingness of this desire, of this lovely, delicious thought and sensation, is also just the source of being able to live the American dream, which for me, the American dream is the ability to chill for no special reason. I think that was one of the earliest, most appealing things that I loved about the United States. You come here and suddenly you become aware of the word chilling, and it um, it packs a lot of meaning and a lot of uh, just the right amount of sophistication to be able to travel around the world and feel just fine about yourself. And second guessing will be only of that which is very, very pinpointed and close to the heart of that technical matter that circles in your head, and you need to go back and forth with it on so many levels in order to be able to resolve it. Most of the time, you won't even know what you have been resolving or have been trying to resolve. And it doesn't seem to be a problem not to know or not to be aware or not to be in sync with. But you see yourself in that scenario that it shifts between this friendship with some other things, entities, forces. It shifts between one to the other, and there's such a high level of dominance alongside the attitude and the profile and all this of each, and then there's the whole idea of unity. So I was surprised actually, because I anticipated that indeed, even if the two dominant forces come together, at some point it will show an immediate portion of that unity. How does it look? How does it feel? But here, it doesn't address it at all. It's just like the unity is there just because these two giants, two forces can just simply stand next to each other, would be considered unity. As so then the individual thrives in these cases. So we get to see two worlds that are really self-sufficient and 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 being efficient, characteristically relating to who they really are. So even though they can stand one next to the other, they're still significantly different. Uh, so, for example, it's almost like thinking that you take drummers or musicians from both far ends of the spectrum, for whatever that means. You could just pick them, and you pick one because you see, or you look at that person and you say, I don't know if I want to look for anything special. I just want to see if this individual can handle a musical instrument well enough to make people feel and make people want to hear more, and open a channel for discussion and interaction and just good stuff, basic stuff. That's what I always wanted to pick. So I say, okay, you come from here, bring them together, and then you're in for the pleasant teaching surprise that you see that when you give a chance to people that are halfway decent in their attempts and capabilities, you will get things delivered that will surprise you and will make you think again and again. And even though you're already a thinker, it will make you continue thinking and increasing the awareness, that and the punch that it delivers, for lack of a better word. As I mentioned here before many times in the past, it always comes with credentials. When you enter this zone, this reality, this happening, you you don't need any credentials. The entity that was interviewing you really was actually asking for your advice while they're trying to get to know who you are and if you're good for them to be hired. So something weird like that. And but credentials are just even for me, it was very strange to think about this, realizing that there's so much give and take when you become an artist, when you decide to become an artist, when you the early days of trying to actualize it, you realize it's uh, nothing comes smooth. That means there's always a negotiation going on, taking place. There's always something that you feel or hear or see that you can't hear, and that you can't see, and you don't have enough information to evaluate anything, but only you know that you actually entered the first door, and you're just about to hold a brush or hold some device, bring some colors, some paint into a happening with that equation that is just like can't wait to get it over with or get it started. And then you realize that, if you're lucky. For me, it took me a long time because I needed help to realize and to understand that certain things are there that otherwise I wouldn't know. It doesn't matter how brilliant or otherwise I am. you, you need some voice to whisper to you, by the way, see you later. And then you will see, wow, yes. And so now you, me, we, they, we stand in front of a reality that just a second ago was a privilege to even consider that you will ever be a part of something like this. And suddenly you've been violently upgraded. And that's my way of saying really upgraded in an incredible fashion. So it's really pretty much like action in a way that you would perceive a drummer handling the drums with a band for music's sake. um, is uh, all about trying to introduce yourself as honestly and as basically as you can, and emphasize the level of passion, the amount of willingness to for a commitment, and and made them aware of your knowledge of the importance of the fact that work ethics rule work ethics rule. This is the name of the game. So, I happen to enter a reality where I realize that my ancestors are going to be given and maybe earn me some chances that I would be welcomed in this new zone, whatever, with its requirement, and that something or someone will see and will say, I see something there, you may stay. And so early on it was like, okay, I think that I can overwhelm the process by my attitude. That attitude can only come from for the due to the fact that it's so this cycle of that which you feel as a given, whatever art is, and art is important. It's the question that you learn, that you feel that you need to ask is, so how do I proportionally rearrange in the face of changes, so at least this machine is not going to get uh, wasted by doing nothing but making wrong decisions. you know you like already saw yourself halfway through the Sahara desert, 8 days without water, at your last breath, laying on a sizzling 50-degree sand surface, hot, you know, uh, death at its glorious moment, and then follows that can be a, a nice, thorough, fluent walk, um, walk, fast, slow, regardless, walk, and then you are. That spells for you that precious time that you get in the point where you're saying, you know what, I think I got an hour here. and you can't believe you just heard yourself. I think I got an hour here, and that hour is like 1 hour. It's a lot. And you start doing, you get this, you get absorbed by it, all the right things. You feel all the right things. It's a little rushed, but still, an hour is a lot. And because there's a synchronicity, I don't know if I say the words properly, and it's just lovely to see how things work, how sometimes the mechanism showing its colorful variations, and you really instantly like that thing that you see eh, vibrating out there, and then so the credentials and that which you will eventually have to use as that which you're going to show for, and you realize this that there cannot be an argument there. There cannot. If I, you know what, this is just like, I guess I can share something with you that you can be one who can create this. You know, if you don't think, if you want to enter temporarily a world of a, a welcoming center, and you enter that center, they're all equal, they're all at ease, they all know of the ability of the other. But let's just say that in this center, time, space, and place, there's constant negotiations, as the nature of humankind is to negotiate, because things need to be somewhat profitable, somewhat so you can maintain a lifestyle, so you can take care of some business and have your life relatively stable, relatively not, and then we can get with it, with the art, with the music, with writing, with the power of performing in front of the canvas. So now these discussions will be, let's just say, if I want to find myself in this scenario, let me throw myself into that zone, space, and time of center. When you enter the action of things, and you still don't know what your style, but you're in. So now you have to follow certain rules that you are going to find out yourself what they are, and and train yourself to follow them to the best of your ability. Anyway, but if I was to be in this discussion, and I know that I come from a space where I have three batches, one is of 41 paintings with 40% of it mixed media, and 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 then even a half a dozen pieces within it are a nice decent attempt to recapture that which I never had to begin with, and just because I can imagine it and pretend it and paint at the same time, whether it's related to it or not, it doesn't matter. But actual action painting, I could have achieved in segments of 5 to 20, 25 minutes. That means I can really stand in front of the canvas and have that thing that I, again, just kind of began to explain to you, but it really doesn't have to sink in before you can find yourself doing the same thing. It's almost like someone is talking to you, and he has a habit that he just want to have a pen and a paper and scribble something while he's talking to you, without making you feel like he's not paying attention, or disrespectful with this behavior. If let's say that you, that unique person that will allow him to do that, it won't bother you. So now we're opening up towards the possibility that people are more often than not will be able to blow your mind, just because they're so smart, and 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 happen to be sensitive and patient, being so smart. So forget about it. There's some intense things are happening there. So if I was to say, and then I have the batch number two, be 17 solid, medium to large scale, all vibrant colors, all fully thought out of, and very kind of thoughtful, in the sense that, hey, listen, I have it and it's ready to go there, and it already carries its own story that has a middle, and a beginning, middle, and end. And batch number three will be state of the arts, modernistic, casual modernistic attempts that happened to be fairly successful, and every time it was successful, it left a mark. It left a composition. It left a shape that maybe or maybe not. You were supposed to continue and take it ahead to improve its nature, to add to the durability and the definition of the frame, the basic frame, just the one that at least give you an early beginning crash course about look, here is where you are. It's just like you approach AI and say, "Tell me about yourself." Uh, you should do it. You will get really great answer. You get an accurate answer. You will feel like okay, you got a 20-liner reply, and then really it is telling you enough for you to instantly after that feel like you know a thing or two about this individual. So if I was to throw myself into this equation of wheeling and dealing in that lone zone, space, time center, before you're going to be yanked in either to the right and to the left or in with this speed and this velocity, you're right there. You can stay there for quite a while if you choose to, at least, especially if you have good reason why you want to remain longer in that center zone. So I'll be thrown into it, and I'll have these three batches that consist of about 95 paintings in three categories. And I did it in a matter of 18 months. And it's there being very comfortably just a, 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 a whole portrayal of a journey in the shape of paintings that each of them are part of that segment that it belongs to, does not leave any room for useless entertainment of maybe it is or maybe it's not. It would be so evident if we only relate to this particular artist that did such a whole full accomplished weight and substance right there. We need to really be very very careful on how no how we don't treat it as we treat usually things, because this he has something to show for. You take this statement, which is really nothing of a statement, really, but it is like you can say that, you can say whatever you want, and then you say, okay, okay, okay. So, do you want me to show you? Let's just say that it was up to this point. There's a discussion, right? Nobody. It's not like they always had iPhones and oh yeah, I have 50,000 images. I can show you one or two. No, it was those days where you say no, no, no. Listen, I'll see you in a couple of hours. In my place of creation is there, come have coffee, and then you come, and then uh, maybe you find out that I happen to give you a little more than I should have, you know, because yeah, I call it the avalanche of goodness. You come, you see this, uh, the most realistic fantasy that you could have ever imagined is unfolded already, fully, fairly accomplished, at ease with itself. But so deep into its own meaning, mostly that of which it created itself. That means the games, the rules, the structure, the manufacturing, the marketing, the philosophy, the music, the aphorisms, the so much, and um, so yeah, come to my studio. I'm not going to be sending you half a dozen images on the phone because we don't have the phone. Because I don't have There's a payphone here that I can describe it to you through the phone. Come to my studio, and you come to the studio, and I say, this is the batch I was telling you about, and you say an 8 sentence description of what this, and it related to this, to that. I got the canvases. The only thing that I thought about ahead of time is the size of the canvases, and is achieving a number. Let's say we say 23 pieces. Why? Because we just say 23 pieces, and at that point we have nothing, and we have a story. The story is one and the same. It starts with the fact that we want to do it, we're enjoying doing it, we think it's helpful in the immediate and in the long run. It's just all kind of makes sense now. Yes, you can discuss, yes, you can contemplate and philosophize and all this, but this all must take place less than it usually does. And when it does, you should always be reminded that while you are engaged in this, whatever it is that you want to call it, you're still tackling the issues on the surface. You have almost 2 dozen pieces in front of you, blank canvases waiting for you. There's a commitment. No hysteria, none whatsoever. You don't have to be incredibly smart or so together with yourself. Uh, what you really need to be is the no hysteria, meaning don't get caught in a situation where you suddenly noticing that you admiring yourself. Forget about admiring too much, but admiring to begin with. Who admires oneself really? Well, I do sometimes, but I do just for like 15 seconds. But anyway, and then the other people there, these are the people that want to find us and to find themselves saying, I love it, I love this, I love you, I love what you do, I love this combination, I love your story, I love your description of you know how on the ground you gave me a nice portrayal. So you keep on saying things that leads him to that, to the inevitable. Yeah, I'd like to show you work. I'd like to try and convince people or make them aware that it's a good idea to purchase art from you and take it to their home, and that we can continue this loop of, okay, you know what, maybe you can even now and then get some returns, and alongside it, beef up your credentials. Yeah. So you're at a point that if you're lucky enough and you have other points of interest, I I played music for many years, alternative music, long before I ever thought I would become an artist. And I considered myself as someone who loves attending art exhibitions, love the energy, love the idea, and respect the idea of people making a decision. This is who we're going to wish to become. This is the kind of lifestyle that we take upon ourselves. And there's a nice, decent teaching way of people expressing and describing what it really takes and what it really means to be one. And there's this wonderful appreciation for people like us that we say, yeah, we of course we respect that, and we can't wait to see your art and your exhibitions and those. And that's what you do. And so I built while I was writing poetry around the clock. I'm not talking about good poetry or bad poetry. I'm talking about straightforward straightforward writing, just writing on pads. And I mean, you just write until the iPad came or whatever. Then you type. Doesn't matter, you're doing it. So what happens is that if you're pretty privileged enough to have that, I should one day take it upon myself and caught and decided and chose the right day without knowing that I actually did it. That I didn't know that it was the right or the wrong day. I just did it, and it happened to be the right day, the right moment. And when I did what I did and suddenly felt the urge and whatever, and I got my hands on a big canvas and maybe a brush, this, and I'm not alien to paint, I paint houses, whatever. I paint, I'm a house painter, I paint houses. If you want me to paint your house, I'll paint your house. And then you'll pay me, and then I'm gonna somehow survive and exist. And so now I uh, felt whatever that I felt. That usually, I don't think people will make a big deal of it. Probably they will feel the way I did 3 times a day all their lives, and I just happened to have the encounter with it for the first time, and I say, I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check it out. Meaning, it's not leaving me that thing. It's not crazy, but it's just there somewhere that wasn't there before. Like in this, just now it wasn't there, and suddenly it's there. I looked into it. I got some canvas. I went home and I felt weird. And here's the canvas. And what am I doing with the brush and the paint and this? How do you do it? What do I do? What do I do? What do I draw? What do I draw? Which color do I choose to begin with? Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Should I do it? Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Am I doing it? Am I doing it? In this, oh, shoot, I started with a dark blue, what does that mean? Okay, maybe I'll touch it with the white a little bit. It becomes like a light blue. I put more yellow into it, and just a shiny, early stages of some kind of a green, trying to establish itself aside. Then a dash of red, and you expand it. You take that bluish, kind of whitish, yellowish, greenish, and you strike it with a borderline of a very decisive gray. And so, if you're privileged enough and you find yourself in this moment, and suddenly I say, my God, I stood in front of the canvas, and what I caught myself doing is that I was actually approaching what is it that I would have done or could have done if I were to start painting, but I rationalized it as a poem. Turns out to be in my head. Oh, I will take this. I will start with the yellow in the top corner, and with this, and with that. I'm writing and I'm creating this, setting it up for metaphors and lots of adjectives, and it's just everything that lands down, everything that is extracted from it, and it all goes to a good place, and it adapts that good natured sensation about it, because it reached a level where it could feel really comfortable with this whole thing that's taking place. There's no resistance. There's no such thing as something slowing it down. It's just there's no room for that. It's just it even if you know nothing about it and it flies by you, you would feel like that looks like a good outfit. That looks like a nice chilling. They're chilling. They're okay. They're harmless. They seem to be fairly bright and intelligent. And indeed, that is the case. That you want to realize, okay, so now I just went through a 5 minute envisioning that felt very real, and I felt very comfortable. I wasn't doubtful. I wasn't too questionable. I was just doing it and then I realized that I imported my second nature feeling about poetry and writing not only writing in general, yes, maybe a little bit, but writing poetry is different than writing. So, and I said, okay, so I thought about the deposits of tens of thousands of artists everywhere that must have to go through things like that. But the moment of magic is probably common practice for so many of them on daily basis. And here you are freaking out from all this goodness and breakthroughs, and it's a lot. And knowing yourself, you know that it takes much more than that to really throw you off balance. But at least you know that you're aware. It's just like me. When if I take a different language, studying. I would always want to be able to kind of um, um, shake it, just because I would believe that it will just kind of purify it a little more. Whatever things will fly out of it that don't belong, just a little bit, and then stop. And that feels like okay. Not only that it refreshed itself, it also woke up all the participating whatever items, entities, pointers, happenings. So I was, I threw myself right into that center zone and time and place, and and I ended up being able to have a say. Okay, you there, you were trying to say what exactly? And he was pointing at me, and I said, yes, this is what I have. Show us. This is what I have. Um, and there's silence. There is silence. And there's the request to come closer. And then, you know that you found a partner because you already, the tone of voice is familiar to you. You know about your art. You know about the world in relationship to your art. You know about your art in relationship to the world. And you have other deposits, so you don't want to talk too much about what you have or don't have. And as we speak, by the time you get the chance to show the three deposits, piles, you're already just about to complete the fourth one. And as you go along, it will be the fifth one, and it will be the sixth and the seventh. And then it will be the eighth, it will be the ninth, and the 10th, and 11th, and 13th, and 14th, four at once. And you realizing that that crucial detachment that you put in place very adamantly early on in the beginning, when you thought, you know what, let me plant more in that area where I think that in the future I will need it a great deal. When avant-garde and freestyle and all this becomes the norm of the day, you want to be able to have enough ingredients that will make it easier for you to adapt, and to adapt quickly, because you know the nature of it. Because this is something you own, but in 20 years from now, maybe you will forget that you even have it. Nevertheless, to have ever used it. And these are crucial things. These are things that cannot just be, yeah. These are things that that are not necessarily a. It's just that maybe I sat here and I described to you something that is maybe 3 to 5 years kind of thing, like beginning and then and then three and then five. It's like, and then you think, this is pretty quickly, this is pretty fast, uh, because you always like, when I interview young artists, it's almost like there's some hand on their shoulders, either like they feel the pressure down or the pull back or the push forward. Certain moments that has nothing to do with them and what they have to say or not. And um, so it's the recognition that you get because you managed to impress someone who knows better, who knows about hard work and work ethics and quality and sales and success and interaction, and thinking correctly and acting and reacting correctly and sensitively and being on the alert, being vigilant. That vigilance is good. It's good. Certain things that you will miss because you didn't notice might probably take them years to come back, if ever. So, anyway, there's that sense of um, 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 you um, wanted to be able to leave an impression. Uh, uh, I had a show. I thought about being thoughtful. My work ethics was operating fairly impressively. Things went smooth. Preparations were very demanding and maybe borderline exhausting, but it got done. And by now I'm already really deep into the next projects, and but still feeling the effect of that. Just straightforward, just a unique on its own uh, or unique behalf, and then you have enough experience to know that this is the time to enjoy it. This is the time to look a little closer into uh, the the, the side that it leaves mysterious, and so suddenly you realize you have the capability to readdress it and get all these things that you say, wait a second. But you realize it's not, you realize the thing in that early stages, I realized that, okay, remember when I mentioned I have an hour and then you're there and you have everything you need. You have everything you need at your disposal. You have no room for excuses. You know your drill, you know your technique, you know your approach, you know your attitude, you know tools that are available to you. You know of your powers and capabilities. You know of your rights. You know of your place. You know of your love. You know of your care. You know you're aware of, and you know of your genius, of the full body of whatever it is that it will turn out to be right there. So yes, I answered. I got almost 2 dozen pieces here, some of which are fairly sizable. I show, and next thing you know, it's it's ready to go. And a couple of weeks later, I found myself knocking on his door and saying, while while we were talking and discussing and thinking about this batch of work and about you putting it on display and about the exhibitions and wonderful energies, I got I got about 11 paintings here that I was like managed to accomplish. Maybe at some point even kind of being affected from our interactions, as those interactions were taking place while I was giving birth to this. So now you feel that you are becoming a part of the big deal, the big league, and it doesn't really mean anything to you because you don't know the nature of the big league and don't know what to do. Being considered, if you're one of the participants, that you happen to be considered as a big deal. Yes, well, look around. People did. They realize what you're doing, how you're doing, how much you're doing, how fast you're doing, how beautiful you're creating, and how capable of your portrayal and following a storyline that you actually was give it to us ahead of time. Say this is what it's all about, and feel free to ignore everything. And I have wonderful friendships with people that when I see them, they say, "You son of a gun, the last show you had at such and such and this and that, you blew my mind." And you know what? It was like, okay, I love it. Look at it. This guy is like really, and I don't blame him. I don't blame her. I really don't. I know. I know where they're coming from. They're coming from those private strong-willed, resolved moments of non-wavering, full hands-on engagement, live, ongoing. I know how they feel, and but then surprising me even more, let's say, there are especially two or three pieces that were really exceptional. And then they continue to talk about something that they don't even need to tell me which one it is. I already know. So then you say, wow, wow, wow. You're looking at the person that you're talking to. Well, actually, he's talking to you. Are you there? And you didn't never thought that this individual is so far out in his or her ability to explain and to share and to describe. Like this individual here is like literally enriching me with this whatever. And you suddenly, as the artist, that thought that you took everything under account, and you realized that you didn't pay attention so much to the fact that it's making sense and becoming more effective in that sense, in by way of being suddenly in the hands of certain ages, certain groups that happen to be needy of that which this has to offer. Like it's just a perfect mix, a perfect match. But then in the same token, it does not resolve, it does not compromise its achievements. I mean, in the process, you become so like eager that you might uh, be willing to pay a real uh, high price unnecessarily just because you're generous or you're reckless, but not good. So quickly enough, you fix that. It will be fixed by Mother Nature that wants you to survive, wants you to continue and thrive. Just like we wanted to save the greats when in a world war erupts, we rushed to hide the painters, the philosophers, the writers, the musicians, those who plant the seeds of hope and whatnot. Rush them to safety. Rush them to safety now. Rush them to safety on the double. And well, our phrase expression is solid and fully completed and accomplished. That goes hand in hand with knowing what needs to be done, like marching forward. Uh, so the good news is that tomorrow or next week or next month, it's not going to be the same. It's always going to change, and it's all going to change according to the expectations of those who at least sensitive enough that there is something to show for there and they want to keep their attention there. And every time they do that, they bless themselves for making the right decision. And they see it. They see the light at the end of the tunnel. They see that light that happens to be in the tunnel at the end, in the middle, at the beginning. But they realize that actually this is the interpretation of it. There's light in the tunnel. We can walk around. We can think. We can plan. We can this. There's light. We see the way. I don't know what's the end, what's the beginning. Okay, light it in. The light is there. And if you want to go underground, it's fine. There's light there. And you have to kick in with your capabilities that you want to be a creative individual no matter what. It's not like you forgot to brush your teeth before you went to sleep. This is not happening. This is exactly the opposite. So you do something about it. I can't even say you do something about it. Something is being done on behalf of you that had to do with something about it, with doing something about it. And and if you're really lucky to have another one or two, so you have four mediums that you operate on. And when I hate to say the word operate, but that you function as an artist with instead of operate on. when you function with this and you utilize it and uses it as a tool, and it's just like having a friend, having a companion, having an entity with an opinion, having a constructive force in your life, it's good stuff. Might sound very cliche, but you're not worried about it, because you're not worried about it because that's who you set yourself up to be, that kind of a person. So you're not surprised. You kind of worked on yourself. Think about it. Go work on yourself. Who said that? I can imagine at least 20 people said that very seriously to me during my lifetime. Yeah. Go do something about it. Whatever. Something like that. Yes, and I am still doing before your statement and after your statement. It doesn't end. So it's like, when you realize that actually when you encounter people, and you know that the average good, hardworking, able and capable, and a focuser and a doer and a leader and everything, when they encounter certain techniques, instantly and immediately they're becoming humble. They're being humbled by the process. Most of them would be taken back and would come forward immediately afterwards to suggest that they want to take place uh, in the process itself. They would like to become acquainted with it. This is good. It feels good. They're respectfully humbled, and they do something about it, and it goes on. So now we reissue the generation of doers, a generation of love and peace, and all these things that we think and consider cliche, that they want to scream it out loud and to make it to be known to all. But they don't stop their investigation of their capabilities while they're placing their opinion for the world to be aware of. So I feel like I'm kind of navigating between the drops in a way that I am mindful of the fact that I need to keep my voice unique to the source of its initial mysterious, surprising chain of events, and the level of consistency to make me pay attention to it the way I did, make the decisions that I did, and follow those decisions. And if you make any rules, follow your own rules at least. And you kind of, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have breakfast and lunch and dinner and maybe watch a good movie or go swimming or take a walk or fly somewhere and shop this and walk in the streets of Paris and New York and have a good life and all this. And yeah, we're going to do all that. But then the uh, approach is uh, already a composition that carries a nature with it, and identifying ingredients, uh, consistencies, and ever changing uh, accents on the branches of rhythm, and you uh, get to experience a lot of suggestions and that are related to mostly what you already kind of know about it and feel about it, and so now you can build an entire kingdom on top of the batches of wealth, and a result of an attitude that uh, quantity is quality will definitely give its results. And and you know, I do have conversations with people that we can say to each other, I did what I had to do, and I did what I did. And then, if you have some time, we can indulge you into opening up the safes and let you wander into the world of magic, if only by numbers. And the source behind it is fairly decently calculated and capable of eh, estimating its precise location and or being able to point out to indicate to you, I know where I am by showing you where I need to go. I already tell you where I am as I speak to you about where I want to get to. So this is so again, if you're a drummer and then you think this way, it's very easy to interpret it into the drum set. Okay, what kind of a beat it's going to be? It's going to be what I just said. Now here I'll give you an example. Will be so there is a theme. There is a okay. Speaking of brushstrokes, what is the nature of brushstroke? And I could never had an idea how to approach it. Even that stroke and the brush and the thing and the paint. Yes, it all makes sense. And then you don't know what to do. You don't know what it really is. And then okay, so you develop approaches and attitudes where you don't need to think too much about it. And now you're experimenting and exercising other things in order to achieve that. So that's just it. So patterns, so with music, you say pa ta pa ta pa ta ta pa ka ta ta pa ta ka ta 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 so you're thinking, okay, if you want to, I'm writing, whatever. I write. Then and then you see it's it spells poetry. And you write. Then you go to the drum set and you import that capability with you wherever you go, and it's just like an amazing sensation. And now you're learning about how much time for each segment, for each visit, for each encounter. You really start going into nitty gritty, and you want to kind of get a little precise because you feel and from experience that it's never too. You cannot, you know, you cannot be too precise. It's just not. So at least that gives you an inspiration that it's okay. You have time. It's okay. You're not gonna just crash and clash into something like in the next few seconds. So we hope you won't. And just wanted to mention, we're sitting here on Friday morning, May 10th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. We're going to be here tomorrow, as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we're here, as I said, today, Friday morning, May 10th, year 2024. Today we have the opening from Matt um, um, Rayner, opening today through the 7 May 10th. I don't know if you're going to get this on time, but in any case, we're open also Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You can see his work through the first week of June. Keep up the good spirits, and we love you and we appreciate you, and thanking you for your patience and for your um, contribution in your own way. I'm sure it's plenty. Enjoy this weekend.